Hi, this is Keith with How to Build Your Own Home, and I want to talk about foundations and insulating your foundation. It's something that's rarely done, not done, and if it's done, it's done partially, or if you knew in advance that you could have done it, you would have done it. And so I want to talk about a couple of options when it comes to insulating your foundation. I do a lot of slab on grade, I do a lot of stem walls, and every once in a while I'll do some walkout basements, stuff like that. If you have a frost depth that it is substantial, 30 inches, 36 inches, even as high as 40 plus inches down, you're going to want to insulate the foundation of the home. Now this here is a slab on grade home, and I initially wanted to insulate under the slab, which I would have had 2 inches of 25 psi foam underneath the slab to insulate it. But we went with a shallow foundation, and as a result, if I had insulated the under slab of this home, then I would not have protected the home or the foundation from heaving, frost heaving, which we don't really have a lot of that here at all. Our frost depth is barely a few inches, but it's still rated as a deeper frost depth of 30 inches. So my foundation had to be 30 inches. Well, to save on some foundation cost, we went with a shallow foundation, and we have insulation on the outside of the stem. Now this here is a small 6-inch stem, could be an 8-inch depth. The next one I'll do up north, it'll be an 8-inch stem wall, because I'll do some omni block on top of that. But this goes down about a foot, 11 inches to a foot, and then it spreads out into a footing down below. Well, this whole sheer part of the wall, because we formed it, we were able to put and glue some insulation to the outside of that wall. Now, what does that do? It helps contain heat and cold on the appropriate side of the wall. So as this interior of the house is heating, it becomes a heat sink, and it captures it, and it basically creates a thermal break, so it can't have any continued conductivity to the outside. But it also keeps the warmth right about here, so if there is a nasty frost, or if there's some nasty heaving, it's going to melt, it's not going to continue. And heaving is nothing more than water in the soil starting to freeze, and we know what happens to water when it freezes. It expands, okay? And so we don't want water getting near the foundation, and we don't want freezing near the foundation and causing heaving. So our foundation is about, a little more than 2 feet thickness of it. But by code, it should be closer to 30 inches. But we were able to save on that by insulating the outside of the stem. I would typically rather do it on the inside, but because of our frost depth, the code structure actually wants us to insulate the outside of this to accommodate a shallow foundation that we've got here. I highly recommend this. This becomes what's called a thermal break. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between thermal density and a thermal break and R value. And I'm going to really spend some time on these over the next couple of weeks to really help people understand. This is thermal density, okay? Between the two and the outside, this is a thermal break. And this is called R value. So you've got anything that's a thermal density, this is a mass. Anything that's mass has got a thermal, kind of a battery to it. This concrete and this metal will bank cold and it will bank heat. This here foam will not do that, okay? And so a lot of people have asked me about ICF. Are you a fan of ICF? And I say no, and here's the specific reason why. You've got a non-thermal mass on the outside and a non-thermal mass on the inside, styrofoam both on the inside and the outside. And R value seems to not understand thermal density. When I start an omniblock up north here, I'm going to go through the differences with all of those. I just want you to start thinking in terms of a thermal break. Now we have a thermal break. This here, R value right here, which is not a battery of any kind. It's not going to hold cold and it's not going to hold heat. It's just going to be a thermal break, kind of like a coat, all right, over you, that's going to keep cold from wicking inside the foundation, and it's going to keep heat from transferring to the outside air. That's what a thermal break is, okay? And thermal break is typically in the form of insulation. Insulation, when you put it inside your walls, that's a thermal break. It's a breakage between the conductivity of the wood sheeting on the outside and all your drywall on the inside. It makes it so it's harder to transfer heat and cold from one side of the wall to the other. And remember, heat chases cold. So if I've got this warm in the winter, all right, it's going to chase to the outside and it's going to break right here for the most part. It's not going to have any conductivity from here to the outside. That's called your thermal break, okay? And R value or insulation typically acts as a thermal break. But what people don't understand is that if you don't have a thermal break right there, then you're going to have a thermal density, okay, which is the concrete, and it's going to bank the cold in the summer, it's going to bank the heat in the winter, and if it's going to naturally, if it's heat outside, heat chases cold, and without that thermal break on the insulation on the outside wall here, it's going to continue keep coming out, and you're going to lose up to 30% of your energy costs exits through the concrete mass which is leaving the home, which is why you want an insulated wall on the outside of your home. There's a lot of science to that. I wanted to just help you out in a real nutshell of why it's kind of important to put some insulation on the outside of your home, especially for basements, even stem walls. And now I'm starting to do this now on slab on grade. Now, what am I going to do about the sheeting? Bottom plate comes here and my sheeting comes out here. What am I going to do with this extra here? Well, I'm going to probably do some stucco on this. I got to talk to my client on this because it's some of my other costs for some of the things that she wants to do or kind of ran out of cost right now, which I'll talk about to her. But I may just continue this up with 2 inches of rigid foam all the way up, not rigid foam, but just a different polystyrene foam, which goes behind the stucco. We'll come up to about here and then we'll put a nice bump out all the way around the house, really give it some character and some difference that most people don't see. That will allow me to continue this all the way up just a little bit to about the 2 or 3 foot mark. Then we'll do a bump out all the way around the house and we'll be good. I just don't want water to suddenly sheet down here and get it in here, which we won't do because we're going to have a pipe right here and we're going to collect all that off the roof, take it down here and take the water and sheet it away from the home. I just wanted to go over this. I hope I'm not too obscure and too academic here for you. I just wanted to help you understand those differences between thermal break, thermal density, and the R value. And that R value is really the factor that's keeping all the banked heat, banked energy on the inside from transferring to the outside. And without that, we'd actually lose quite a bit, especially with a slab on grade home like this. We're right outside exposed here, and we're going to try to keep all that heat to the inside. And as we build a wall, we're going to have foam on the outside, blow-weight insulation on the inside. All that acts as a thermal break, keeping what's inside from getting to the outside. And start researching that. I don't care where you are, even in some nice dry climates or hot climates like I am, it's still going to move. Heat's going to move. If you're cold on the inside and you're hot outside, 110 degrees, heat chases cold. It's going to want to move its way inside the home. So without that thermal break, you're going to have some problems. You're going to lose energy and not really know it. This is Keith Kelch with How to Build Your Own Home.